Thank you very much, Sir Gerald Calderon. Ngayon po, ito na yung pinakahihintay ng lahat, ang ating question and answer portion. So, introduce ko lang po ang ating panel for this morning. First up, we have no less than the Assistant Secretary of the Consumer Protection Group. We have Attorney Anne Claire C. Cabochan. Hi, ASEC Anne. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Yes.
And then the next member of our panel is the OIC Director of the Consumer Policy and Advocacy Bureau. We have Attorney Marimel D. Porciuncula. Good morning, Attorney Mel.
Yes, good morning, Joyce. Thank you. Good morning, ASEC.
Good
morning,
morning.
everyone. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat at nagpapasalamat kami sa inyong pag-join sa Zoom meeting.
Last but not the least, we have the Division Chief of the Mediation Division of the Fair Trade Enforcement Bureau. Ito po yung bureau natin na nag-handle ng consumer complaints na pumapasok po sa DTI. We have Ms. Werlin Reyes. Good morning, Ms. Werlin. Alright, baka naputo lang po yung signal ni Ms. Werlin, so later on she will be joining us for the Q&A. So without further ado, simulan na po natin ang ating pagtatanong sa ating panel. I now turn you over to our moderator, Mr. Homer Bunyi.
Thank you, Joyce. Magandang umaga po ulit sa inyong lahat. So we have here a list of questions para po sa ating mga panelists to give light to the queries na binato po sa atin ng ating mga manonood, and especially po after this list of questions, we will also read our Zoom group chat. Marami rin po kasing nag-lodge ng kanilang complaints at ng kanilang queries para po enlightenment on the events, refund, as well as magkakaroon din po tayo ng live questions. So for the first question, slide please. Does the DTI rule on refund also apply to other services, suppliers such as hosting, singers, event, stylists? It's a question from a consumer. Yes, Sir Gerald.
Thank you, Homer. Does the DTI rule on refund also apply to other services, suppliers, hosting, singers, event, stylists? Tinignan ho ninyo, yan, nabanggit ko kanina sa aking presentation, lalong-lalo na ho dun sa refund concession. Yung definition po kasi ng advance payment, sabi ho doon, yung advance payment po ay yung covers yung paggamit at pag-occupy po ng leased premises or venue, yung ating food to be catered during the event, and other related services such as rent ng sasakyan or equipment, if any, to be used in such events. So in other words, kung ito pong hosting, singers, event stylist, ay kasama po doon siya sa advance payment na sinasabi, covered doon, mag-a-apply po siya dito sa services na ito.
Okay, thank you, Sir Gerald. Any more inputs from our panelists?
Just to say, Homer.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, good morning, everyone, again. And thank you, Homer, for giving me the floor. Just to say that if the payment, kunyari yung supplier na yan, because I could read in the chat box that people were requesting that we speak in Tagalog and expound a little more. If kunyari merong nag-aano ng yung nagpaplano ng wedding nila. The wedding was supposed to take place in March 30. So yung March 30 ay naka ECQ na po tayo dito sa Metro Manila, no? Tapos example lang dito yung wedding sa NCR, sa Metro Manila. Yung supplier nung sa kasal na yan ay nagbayad na ng singer, nagbayad na ng ibang for other services, yung renta ng van, renta ng bridal car, kasama po yan sa ire-refund kasi hindi naman po siya natutuloy. And the payment was made bago pa tayo nag-ECQ at ang event po ay nandoon sa period ng community quarantine, which was, in my example, March 30. I think si Director Mel would like to say something.
Thank you, Asek. So, tama po yung in-explain ni Asek. So, may I read, dun po sa under section 5 kasi, nakalagay dito, for canceled events, the schedule of which falls during the period covered herein, the owner of the venue or its representative shall give the other party the following options. So, parang through the owner of the venue. So, impliedly, yung parang package po siya. Kung halimbawa, nagpa-reserve kayo, pina-reserve nyo yung venue, tapos yung owner ng venue, siya naman yung nag-engage ng services ng halimbawa, banda, yung mga sasakyan, sa flower arrangement, kung package po siya, kasama po yung mga nabanggit na services doon sa question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you po for enlightening us.
Homer,
Yes, ma'am.
Just to also to add to that to the answer. Titingnan po natin kasi alam naman po natin marami diyang mga reservations ay covered by a contract. 'Di ba? Meron silang pinirmahan. Ngayon, dito po sa atin in this jurisdiction, alam niyo naman po yung provisions ng contract that is considered to be law between the contracting parties. Kaya nga po dun sa isang slide nakikita goodwill kasi nga alam naman natin na wala namang may gusto na mangyayari ito. So kahit pa po may kontrata at yun ang pinirmahan ng mga parties, wala naman pong magsa-stop dun sa owner ng venue, nagmamagandang loob na magbibigay ng discount kunyari or ibabalik yung pera, but goodwill na yon. So yung mga situation po natin dito na nagsasabi tayo ng refund, kaya pag tinitingnan nyo po yung MC, sinasabi po natin doon na if the contract does not cover yung who bears, that the obligor bears the loss for a fortuitous event. Kaya titingnan po din natin kung may kontrata po tayo.
Okay po. Thank you, Asek. For our next question, if I am the supplier, this is from a government sector, if I am the supplier, can I deny the refund and only give a rebooking option to my client even if the client is asking for refund? If he or she will not accept the rebooking, will I be freed from my obligations? Sir Jerry?
Okay. Well, ang sagot ko ho dyan, initially ay hindi. Kasi yung refund concession po ay mandatory. At syempre, request po yan ng kliyente. Kasi doon po sa Section 3 po na sinasabi, nakalagay po kasi doon na sa interest po ng fairness, yung payment received, either sa down payment or deposit for the staging or holding of personal or business-related events or functions. Kasi nga po, hindi po siya naganap sa dahilan na nagkaroon po ng restrictions brought about by the community quarantine. So, dahil dito, nagkaroon po tayo ng social distancing directives, nag-impose po nag-impose po dyan. Tapos, because of this, maaaring na-cancel or na-scale down yung event. So, kailangan pong i-refund either fully or partially, yung pong pera. Upon of course request and notice. Yun po yung suggested answer ko.
Asik Ann, Director Mel, any more inputs po?
Yes, Homer. Dadagdagan ko lang po yung explanation ni Jerry, di ba? Klaro naman po dun sa ating memorandum circular na merong options. Merong options yung nagbayad ng reservation either in full or partial payment. May option siya doon. Ngayon, under the circular, meron namang duty si supplier to inform the other party of his or her options. So, siya po yung magpaparating, papipiliin niya. Kaya nga po option eh. Hindi na po siya option kung isa lang yung pipiliin natin doon sa mga in-enumerate ng circular. So, ang option po ay nandun sa party na nagbayad doon sa supplier.
Ibig sabihin lang, if you look at the circular section 5, I think, dun sa procedure for refund concessions, nakalagay doon na yung supplier, ibibigay niya yung choice doon sa nagbayad. So, yung whether to consume the amount paid at a later date, after of course deducting what could be reasonable actual expenses, or to get back the full amount. So nandun din yan, to get back the full amount incurred after the imposition of the restrictions. So binibigay yung option at pinapapili po yung consumer. So nasa section 5 po yan.
Thank you po, Asik. Next question, please. It's a question from a consumer again. How to go about negotiating the refund of reservation fee for a wedding scheduled in September 2020 outside Metro Manila, which will be canceled due to the unforeseen, unpredictable future of the health crisis. Venue supplier won't refund and is citing a DTI memo regarding this. Anyone from the panel?
Before I give it, Homer, before I give it to Director Mel or to DC Jerry, I think that the question needs a few more details. Kasi sinasabi outside Metro Manila, we all know na iba-iba po naman yung ating mga quarantine level, di ba, sa buong bansa. At saka yung pag sinasabi canceled in September, hindi po natin alam kung by that time na September ay naka-new normal, the new normal na tayo in that particular place. So siguro makakatulong pag sasabihin kung saan, kasi meron na tayo at this time na naka MGCQ na walang notation ng strict local controls, di ba? So dapat yung ano na yan, yung detail na yan ay masasabi din po. So I think Director Mel?
Thank you, Asek. So tatandaan lang po natin na kung yung date ng event during the scheduled event, hindi pa po lifted yung ini-implement na community quarantine, na either ECQ, MECQ, GCQ, hanggat hindi po siya nalilift, mag-a-apply po yung ating memorandum circular on refund. Jerry, you
Okay, Sir Jerry.
Okay, thank you po. Well, pagka tinignan ho naman ninyo yung sa question, ano ho, well, I will siguro ikaw ko na lang ho as is, sasagutin na lang ho natin as is kung ano po yung question po dito. Kasi pagka tinignan ho yung MC 20-30 talagang uh, covers yung events na that have been fully or partially paid. Pero because of the restrictions or resulting yung social distancing or physical distancing, maaaring ma-cancel o mag-scale down. And pero ang sinasabi naman ho niya ron is September 2020 pa. So hindi pa ho natin alam kung talaga ma-extend pa ho yung ating quarantine. So hindi pa ho kino-cover yun no MC 20-30.
Thank you, Sir Gerald. Next question po. From a supplier, are we required to refund the down payment of clients if they cancel their event because of COVID-19? What solution can do since we in the industry are also hardly hit by the pandemic? From the panel?
Okay. This is also, we know that, of course, we also have to look at the other side, which is the side of the supplier. Although the MC really is in response to the concerns of consumers. But nakikita naman po natin sa MC that the supplier is also given the list of options that it can present to the consumer, dun sa nagbayad ng reservation or down payment, binibigyan naman po siya yung supplier ng options and we are all very conscious na lahat naman ay talagang apektado sa situation na ito. Hindi lang naman po yung consumer, kung hindi din po yung supplier. So, alam niyo po kami nasa Consumer Protection Group kami, pero sa buong DTI, ang masasabi ko lang po, madami ding programa na ginagawa yung DTI na tutulungan din naman po yung mga negosyante, especially the micro, small, and medium enterprises. Si Director Mel.
Pasek, yung tanong niya po kasi ay kung refund lang ba yung pwede niyang i-offer na option. No, so nabanggit na po natin, palagi natin binabanggit na may mga options. Yun yung either refund or yung they can consume, yung advance payments nila within in 1 year after the lifting nung ECQ, MECQ, or GCQ. Ngayon, kung ang pinili po niya na option ng nagbayad ay yung refund, talaga pong refund yung ibibigay natin sa kanya. Pero kung titingnan po natin yung kabuuan ng memorandum circular, patas po siya talaga, very fair. Hindi niya sinasabi na pagkasabihin ng consumer, hindi, gusto ko refund. Ang sabi po ng memorandum circular, refund. Pero kung may nagastos na si supplier before the quarantine, at yung nagastos na yon it has something to do or related siya doon sa event, ibabawas po natin yon doon sa mari-refund. So ganun po ka-fair yung ating circular. Thank you.
Thank you po. So ayun po, fair po tayo sa consumers at saka po sa suppliers. As sinabi po ni ASEC ni Director Mel at Sir Jeff. Next question po. From a consumer, we understand that contracts between suppliers and consumers are binding and that there exist rebooking and cancellation clauses in the contracts. Some suppliers are okay to rebook to a new date without additional fees, but are firm on the cancellation fee. what should be the course of action between the parties? Are suppliers really entitled to additional fees since it's part of the existing contract, or our clients may be able to get a full refund on the payments made to the supplier? Ma'am Asek?
Okay, I think that I think in my first intervention I already mentioned, pag meron po tayong kontrata, the MC recognizes na yung terms and conditions ng kontrata po ay law between the contracting parties. So, freely entered into naman po yan. So, lahat, yung both parties, nung pinirmahan nila yan, naintindihan naman po ng dalawang partido kung ano yung mga ano na yan. Kaya, kung tatanungin ako, if you can get a full refund on payments made to the supplier, babalik tayo sa MC. Kasi sa MC, nandoon po yung options. At saka kanina, sinabi na ni Director Mel at sinabi ko din naman kanina yung pag may binabalik at kung meron ng reasonable expenses na paid by the supplier, but ang titingnan natin, nabayaran yon bago pa tayo nag-declare ng CQ yung gobyerno, ha? Before the quarantine, before the lockdown, nabayaran na yan, that is a valid expense. Basta mapakita din lang na may proper documentation, ibabawas yan doon sa ibabalik. So yung full refund, talagang pag wala talagang lumabas na pera at kung nung prinisent yan din naman yung option na inaano ng supplier. I think si Director Mel would like to say.
Thank you, Asek. Thank you, Homer. Gaya po ng sinabi ni Asek, lahat po kung merong existing contract, kung may kontrata yung dalawang partido, yun po ay ating nire-recognize, yun po yung ay ating iginagalang. Pero meron din naman pong under the Constitution, di ba, nakalagay doon na, okay, individuals, corporations may engage in business. Kasi kinakailangan din po natin magtrabaho to earn a living. Pero the government po has the duty. Meron ho namang obligasyon yung gobyerno to intervene kung kinakailangan po ng for the common good, para sa mas nakararami. Pwede hong mag-intervene yung government. Ngayon, okay, meron ho kayong kontrata, but should we stop there? Kung sabihin natin na may kontrata, babalikan po natin yung provisions ng contract. Hihimayin po natin yung provisions. Ano ba nakalagay doon? Meron bang provision on forfeiture of reservation fees? Mga ganyan. Pero kung very generic siya, na parang pagka-canceled yung event, forfeited na, parang hindi naman po yata siya fair, di ba? Kasi when you entered into that contract, nung nagkaroon kayo ng kasulatan, di ba, normal yung environment. Wala naman pong ganitong emergency, di ba? So, would it be fair na sasabihin mo forfeited na siya? Siguro kung yung reason or ground is other than the pandemic. Katulad nung, kung klaro dun sa contract, nakalagay na forfeited siya. In case of force majeure, yung ano pa ba yun, fortuitous event, kung klaro po na nakalagay doon, and despite that, pumirma ka pa rin doon sa kontrata, kailangan po natin na sundin kung ano yung pinirmahan.
Attorney Mel, nawala po yung audio niyo, ma'am. So,
Director Mel, you were muted earlier, but anyway,
Sorry.
only the last part.
The last part lang po.
Oo.
Yun po. So sabi ko nga, hihimayin natin yung provisions ng contract. Kung yung contract may nakalagay na forfeited siya kahit merong fortuitous event, hindi pumirma ka dun sa kontrata. Pero kung ang nakalagay lang sa contract forfeited siya, kung ika-cancel mo, hindi naman po fair na for any reason dahil i-cancel mo forfeited na siya. Siguro kung yun nga, kung ang reason merong nakalagay sa kontrata na forfeited, kung merong fortuitous event, you have to honor the terms and provisions of the contract. Pero kung generic lang siya na any ground, i-cancel mo, doon ho tayo sa fairness na tinatawag yung patas. Yun lang po.
Sir Jerry, mayroon pa po kayong i-add?
Wala na, Homer. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you po. So, yun lang po. Pinaliwanag po ng ating mga officials. So, the supremacy of contract po dapat po i-respeto. Okay po. Next question is, if the supplier stated no refund policy for force majeure or fortuitous event on their contract, should it be strictly followed? If yes, what is the guarantee for the consumers that these companies will not declare bankruptcy should the crisis extend? Ma'am Asek?
Well, we cannot guarantee that a private enterprise will not fold up. And that is why DTI is trying to, DTI really battled for reopening of the economy and for businesses to start to operate para naman maiwasan natin yung tinatawag na bankruptcy. At bago ko magsa-segue lang ako dahil nakikita ko 496 participants dito. Matutulungan niyo po lahat when you patronize Filipino products and suppliers. Ngayon, lahat ng bansa nakikita ko, sinasabi nila buy their own products. So tayo din, makakatulong kayo imbis magkapagawa kayo or mag-order kayo ng giveaways nyo or kung saan nagaling sa ibang bansa, patronize our local products. That is the only way we can help each other para hindi magsasara yung mga negosyo natin. Ngayon, we cannot guarantee na hindi magsasara. And if there is a provision in the contract, as you stated here, as we said, that is law between the contracting parties. Kaya lang, doon sa circular, meron kaming mga pakiusap doon sa mga supplier kasi lahat naman tayo ay apektado po. Kaya sana doon sila sa goodwill pumapasok. Na kung gusto nila na yung ipipatronize sila dahil hindi lang negosyo ang tinitingnan nila, hindi lang yung bottom line figures, kung hindi talagang yung relationship nila sa mga kliyente nila, sana yung mga options na available ay talagang ibibigay nila sa consumer.
Thank you po, Asek. Director Mel po.
Yes po. Dito po sa pangalawang question, yung pangalawang tanong po, sabi nga nating mga Pilipino, wala namang bagay na hindi nadadaan sa mabuting usapan. So kung yung option nung nagpa-reserve refund, diba? Alam naman natin lahat yung sitwasyon natin hindi normal. So binibigyan po kayo ng memorandum circular ng pagkakataon para pag-usapan kung yung period kung kailan po kaya maibibigay ng supplier yung refund ninyo. So pag-uusapan nyo po yon. Pero nakalagay din sa circular, in the absence of any agreement, 30 days po from the confirmation kung kailan na-receive ni supplier kung anong date niya i-refund. So siguro po, yun nga sabi nga ni ASEC, isipin natin yung, di ba, hindi natin lahat kagustuhan ito. So pag-usapan, ini-encourage ho namin kayo na mag-usap. Yan po. Thank you.
Sir Jerry po.
Thank you, Homer. Yes. Yung una po, yung unang tanong is, if the supplier stated the refund policy for force majeure or event under contract, should it be strictly followed? Well, generally speaking ho, talagang sabi nga ho nila, yung terms and conditions dun sa force majeure in a valid contract between the parties shall be recognized. So, kailangan ho talagang irespeto natin yung whatever terms and conditions or stipulations of contract na pinag-agreehan po ng parties. Pero sabi nga ho ni ASEC at ni Director Mel, hindi naman ho doon nagtatapos. Ika nga hindi naman ho natin ginusto na magkakaroon ho ng ganitong klaseng krisis. Neither we have parang bolang kristal na nalaman natin na magkakaroon ho ng ganitong krisis. So kaya ho nagkama po tayo ng MC na kung saan meron din naman ho tayong way na po pwede ho nating go back to the negotiating table, what terms and conditions that we can agree on, na kung saan magkakaroon ho ng parang win-win solution. In fact, doon naman ho sa MC, nakalagay naman doon kung ano yung mga options depending kung cancel siya or scale down event. So, kumbaga sa po, itong MC ay isang para pong venue for the parties to settle whatever agreement they will enter into in a win-win solution. So, yun po yung una. Yung pangalawa po, if yes, what is the guarantee for the consumers that these companies will not declare bankruptcy should the crisis extend? Well, sabi nga ako ni ASIC po kanina, and I will take also, na wala ho tayong guarantee kung we declare na wala akong guarantee talaga, except that government is really have to do to extend any assistance that can give to the businesses, kung that's the only way that it keep it afloat economically. Saka sabi ho naman ni ASEC po na, well, there's no way that we can support our businesses but to buy the product that they produce. Ito lang po. Salamat.
Thank you po. So, yun, as a request, ano po tayo? Let's heal us one, so let's buy Philippine made and let's support po yung mga Filipino suppliers po natin. And also an act of goodwill, yun lang po ang ating may tutulong din para both parties we will all live together pataas after the pandemic. Next question po. Do event suppliers have the right to adjust their rates if the event was moved to the following year because of the current pandemic? Follow-up question, can suppliers insist the clause on postponement and cancellation despite the current situation? And from the panel? Sir Jerry?
I defer ho muna kila ASEC tsaka kay Director.
Okay po, ASEC.
Ito kasi, it is like for me, it's a revision of the original agreement. Kasi yung suppliers dito, do they have the right to adjust their rates if the event, alam mo, yung suppliers, hindi naman natin nire-regulate yung rates nila. 'Di ba? And their rates will dictate whether they will still have the clients that they have or they will get new clients with those new rates. So um, it's not regulated by DTI yung for these events. Can the suppliers insist the clause on postponement and cancellation despite the situation? Now we have been going back to the contract again and again. Um, ang maliwanag lang po kasi si Director Mel at ako pareho kaming abogado. Si Yusek Castelo ay abogado din. So ang ano lang sa ano talaga is pag may kontrata, yun talaga yung masusunod. Except kung yung mga parties notwithstanding that contract, meron sila na pag-usapang iba. At yun na nga yung sinasabi natin na goodwill na nga lang yung pinapairal doon. Eh yun lang yung hindi talaga yung the letter of the contract, di ba? So, Director Mel?
Thank you, Asek. Thank you, Homer. Yung sa unang tanong po, kung meron silang karapatan na mag-adjust. Sabi lang naman niya, right to adjust. Pwedeng yung, ano ba yun? Bababaan niya yung rate niya, tataasan niya yung rate niya. Kung bababaan niya, mas maganda, di ba? Pero kung tataasan niya, nasa ganito lang po yan. Siyempre, ang default, kung ano yung original terms and conditions nung contract nyo, yun dapat muna yung default. Ang tanong, meron bang mga pagbabago? May mga gusto ba kayong halimbawa, kayo na nagpa-reserve? May mga gusto ba kayong baguhin na mag-entail ng additional expenses? So, balik ho ulit tayo doon. Parang go back to the negotiation table, mag-usap uli kayo kung may mga ganong pagbabago. Ganun lang po. Tapos yung sa pangalawang tanong naman, can suppliers insist on the clause on postponement? Nasagot na rin po namin kanina na may option. So yung option, ipo-present niya doon sa kabilang party, then mamimili siya. Kung pipiliin niya yung refund, yun po yung option na napili niya. Hindi niya maipipilit yung clause on postponement and cancellation. Kung in the absence of a specific provision in the contract.
Thank you. Next question. Does the memorandum only cover events that have been affected by the ECQ, MECQ, and GCQ? Our event is on December 2020. Are we covered by the memorandum?
Jerry, ikaw naman.
I
Parang
think the
nasagot na
MC,
natin,
yes,
Asek.
the MC is already clear, di ba? Dapat nagbayad bago nag-CQ, whether it's ECQ. Sa atin sa Metro Manila kasi ECQ. Yung iba kasing places kasi, hindi naman sila nag-ECQ, di ba? Parang GCQ lang sila. So bago nag-CQ, nagbayad ka na. But the event is going to take place during also the community quarantine. Pero nakapagbayad ka na. So dito, hindi ko nakita kung nagbayad na ba. Ang tinatanong lang dito kung covered yung event ng December. So kung nagbayad na siya bago nag-declare ng community quarantine and the event is in December 2020 and in December 2020, nandun pa rin so wherever the venue, the place of the event is na under still community quarantine, then covered ka pa rin by the memorandum.
Thank you, Asek. So, masyadong generic yung tanong niya. So, para po masagot na lang siya, tatandaan na lang po natin yung mga elements kung covered ba itong event na to dun sa scope ng ating memorandum circular. Yung una po, yun nga sabi ni ASEC, meron advance payment or prepayment. Tapos kailan ba yung event? Yung event ba during ECQ, MECQ, and GCQ? At dahil sa restriction from the government, yun ho dapat ang dahilan kung bakit naka-cancel or scale down yung event. So tatandaan po natin yung mga tatlong elementong yun para sabihin natin na covered siya ng memorandum circular.
Okay po, ba't ko lang po itong question sa chat box kasi mukhang connected po dito from Mr. Cyrus Restauro. Is it that it was specifically stated that only ECQ, MECQ, and GCQ are covered? Thus, MGCQ should have been excluded. Please clarify. Sir Jerry, ang MGCQ daw po ba ay talagang hindi po kasama? Kung lang daw pong ECQ, MECQ, and the GCQ.
Well, i-qualify ko lang since yung dun sa fund po, dito sa ating existing MC, ang nakalagay po kasi doon is yung quarantine, community quarantine, and ang mention po doon is yung enhanced community quarantine, modified enhanced community quarantine, at saka GCQ, yung general community quarantine. Although na-mention lang po yung tatlong classification, but if meron pong yung MECQ, for instance, would not to mention of all the three, na magkaroon po ng restriction or resulting physical or social distancing for purposes of application po ng memorandum circular, then I believe it would be covered. But in the sa akin po is sa MCs, ni-mention ko yung ECQ and ECQ, GCQ. Pero yung for purposes of refund concession, kung yung MECQ, for instance, is na-restrict yung any of the contract or saka yung physical distancing. So, yun po.
Ma'am Asek, may add po kayo.
Homer.
Yes, ma'am.
Are we still in question 8 or 9?
As question 8 po.
Okay,
Kaya lang po
so
meron related po dun po sa ECQ, MECQ, and GCQ.
So ang tanong is whether
MGCQ included also
is included.
Yes, ma'am.
Kasi nga dun sa ano natin, dun sa memorandum, it does not specify MGCQ. But perhaps we can check again the IATF resolutions, because my understanding when they prepare this, actually yung MGCQ, just like an MECQ, is pareho lang yung ECQ na yan, pero parang binabaan lang ng konti. But it is under the same category. So for instance, ECQ, pag ginawa kang MECQ, meron lang silang binabawas na konting restrictions, pero actually ECQ pa rin siya. So in GCQ, that is also the same. Yung MGCQ, meron lang yung parang yung operating capacity, for instance, sa mga negosyo natin, from 30% ginawang 50%. So meron lang niluwagan, but it is still essentially a GCQ. So if you ask me, I would consider it liberally na kasama pa rin ang MECQ kasi nandun pa rin yung restriction.
Thank you po, Askan. Next question po. How long should the refund be processed from a consumer?
Yes,
I think,
Homer.
yan, Director Mel po.
Yes. Thank you, Homer. Nakalagay po sa ating circular na katulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, kung ang option na pinili ay refund, mag-uusap ngayon yung supplier tsaka yung customer. Pag-uusapan nila kung kailan ibibigay sa kanila yung refund, kung meron man silang terms na pag-uusapan, mag-uusap po sila. Pero in the absence of any agreement, nakalagay din po sa circular na meron silang 30 days from receipt of the confirmation by the supplier. Halimbawa, sinabi ko ang option ko refund. Ngayon, nung na-receive yun ni supplier, i-confirm niya ngayon na okay, na-receive ko na yung option na the option that you're availing is refund. Doon mo ngayon ika-count yung 30 days. In the absence of any agreement. Kasi kung meron kayong agreement, yun muna ang mag-govern kung ano yung refund period. In the absence of that agreement, yun na po yung 30 days from the time na kinonfirm ni supplier na na-receive na niya yung option na ina-avail ni consumer or customer.
Asik, Kuya Jerry po, the process.
I have nothing further to add to sa sinabi ni Director Mel.
Thank you po, Asik. Kuya Jerry? Kuya, I think you're muted. Sir Jerry? Sir Jerry, you are muted. Yan, okay na.
Okay. Well, i-re-echo ko lang yung sinabi po ni OIC Director Attorney Marimel na depende po yan yung agreement or yung terms na pinagkasunduan ng dalawang partido o how long the refund would be processed for the implementation of the refund. Sabi nga ho nila, kung wala akong pinag-agreean doon kung kailan siya mare-refund, yung MC, very clear naman ho, nakalagay ho doon na 30 days.
Thank you, Sir Jerry. Next question po. From a private sector, what is the process of the DTI for filing complaints? I think Ms. Verlin, the Division Chief of the Fair Trade and Enforcement Bureau, can respond to this question. Ms. Verlin?
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat, sa ating lahat. Dito po sa process of DTI for filing complaints, ang DTI po, ang complaints handling is governed by the revised rules of mediation and adjudication. Meron po tayong Department Administrative Order 20-02, series of 2020. However, because of this community quarantine, may ina-adapt po ang DTI na new normal procedure in complaints handling, particularly po dito sa NCR, sa Fair Trade Enforcement Bureau. So kami po dito sa FTEB, we strongly discourage the filing of complaints personally. Although nakalagay kasi sa ating guidelines doon sa revised rules is initial filing ng complaint is written complaint, pwedeng personal or email. But however, because of this quarantine period where health is of paramount consideration, hindi po kami nag-handle ngayon ng face-to-face or the traditional mediation. So in lieu of this regular process, ang online mediation po ang kinakandak ngayon dito sa Fair Trade Enforcement Bureau. So we advise the complainant or those who intend to file a complaint na i-file po ang complaint via online means, that is through email. Pwede rin naman po kung wala pang email, through text messaging kasi nagka-conduct din po kami ng telemediation. However, we strongly advise na email po dahil doon po ipinapadala ang notices sa party complained of o sa respondent. Then, mag-i-issue po ang mediation officer ng notice. We give the respondent at least 2 days to reach out sa complainant kung may possible na ma-settle kahit hindi mo na mag-undergo ng online mediation. So kung wala po kaming ma-receive from both ends after 2 days, so we issued notice of mediation. So yun po, magpapadala ang mediation officer ng notice kung saan nakalagay po doon ang date and yung link natin, kagaya po ngayon natin kung sa meetings, whether sa Zoom or Microsoft Teams. So, nagkakaroon po tayo ng online mediation. Ganun din naman po sa ibang provinces. Meron din po silang kanya-kanyang method how to conduct the mediation. So, it's either the telemediating. Ginagawa na rin po namin ngayon, tinatawagan din ng respondent. Then, kung wala po talagang possible settlement and nag-fail ang mediation, mag-i-issue ang mediation officer ng certificate to file action. So that's the end of the mediation proceeding. However, kung talagang gusto mang party na mag-proceed with the filing with the adjudication office, sa DTI provincial or regional offices, meron po silang respective email addresses. Dito po sa Fair Trade Enforcement Bureau, online process na rin po ang filing ng complaint. After the issuance of the certificate to file action, meron pong option ang complainant to proceed with the filing with the adjudication division. Basta before the end of the prescriptive period, meron po tayong 2-year prescriptive period from the date that the transaction took place. So dapat na-file po yan sa adjudication office ng provincial regional office or the adjudication division ng FTEB. Notarized complaint po together with CFA, dapat nakasama yung certificate to file action o tinatawag natin CFA plus the notarized complaint plus valid ID. Dito po sa FTEB, send po the complaint with the CFA sa fteb_adjudication@dti.gov.ph. So yun na po, ang process na po na sa adjudication division. Kung walang mediation, wala pong settlement na mangyayari during mediation stage.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Perlin. So,
Thank you, Homer.
okay po, punta po tayo sa mga queries.
Homer, pwedeng
Yes, Sir Jerry. Okay. Sorry.
Well, yun po yung administrative procedure po na nabanggit po ni Ms. Perlin. Medyo may po yan, process under the DTI. Pero pagkat dagdag ko lang po, yung ating pong guidelines, binibigyan po rin po ng pagkakataon yung mga ating mga parties to the contract na magkwan din po sila, mag-settle among themselves. Pagka natatandaan po ninyo, yung pong presentation ko kanina, yung refund concession procedure. Dito po, yung ating pong MCs, liberal po, ibig sabihin, bibigyan ho natin ng freedom yung mga parties to settle their issues among themselves. Tulad ho halimbawa nung, di ba, bibigyan ho ng options yung event owner or representative na kung paano ho nila i-settle yung refund concession. So dito, kung yung party na nagbayad doon sa event ay ino-notify po niya yung pong event owner kung ano po yung decision niya, kung talaga i-cancel or i-scale down yung scheduled event. Tapos, within 5 days, upon receipt yung notice na yon, yung venue owner at yung representative, magre-reply po. Tapos, magbibigay po siya ng options kung ano yung gusto niya doon piliin. Tapos, ibibigay niya po yon. Tapos, yung pong party making the payment, ay mamimili po siya doon. Tapos, i-confirm niya, ibibigay niya po yun sa event owner. Tapos, i-confirm niya. So, yun. Tapos, syempre, i-update niya po yung DTI STEB or yung DTI Provision Office kung ano na po yung nangyari doon sa kanilang usapan. So, yun po. Tapos, bago po mapunta doon sa administrative proceeding proper. So, ibig sabihin po nun, talagang itong MC po ay binibigyan po lahat ng avenue for them to settle before they go to the procedure of the DTI. Yun lang po.